In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and shiny suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superhero show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello, and welcome to the Business for Superhero show. I'm Vicky Fraser, and this is my husband, Joe.
Hello.
And this week, we're enraged, we're having vegetable rage.
Oh, Jesus.
And we are now falling face first into gin and tonic, specifically Bombay Sapphire with elderflower fever tree tonic.
It's quite posh gin and tonic. What time is it, Vicky?
It's 22:32 p.m. and we've...
It's half past 10 at night.
10, and we've just come in from rage planting vegetables.
Have we had dinner yet?
No.
Oh.
Cheers.
I've got gin, though.
Mmm.
So I'm just going to give you a brief rundown of my day. Got up in the morning, went to work, came back, mowed about 2/3 of an acre of a lawn, then fixed the strimmer, then trimmed 2 sets of stairs and a footpath, then sat down for about 3 minutes, got up, and then started planting vegetables for 6 hours. And now it's 10:30.
It's not 6 hours of planting vegetables.
Feels like 6 hours of planting vegetables.
It's actually 2 hours of planting vegetables, which is more than enough. But Horace the Hedgehog came to see us, didn't he?
No, our resident hedgehog did come through.
Yeah, he's a little sausage. I took a picture of him. He's on Facebook. If anybody follows me on Instagram, you can just go and find. Anyway, this might be.
This is going to be a low energy podcast.
It might be a low quality podcast as well, which is a shame because I spent ages actually. You mock me. You accuse me of never prepping these podcasts. I actually spent ages earlier preparing this one.
You could have spent less time preparing it and more time planting vegetables.
Well, yeah, I think the outcome will probably be the same, to be honest, which is somewhat depressing. Anyway, this week we're talking about perfectionism.
Okay.
And how it will fuck you in your business with
a big knobbly.
A rusty one.
Mm.
Anyway, so yeah, if and basically how if you proudly announce to any room that you enter that you're a perfectionist, like it's something to aspire to or a badge of honour, then you should stop that right now and listen really carefully to this podcast. So you know how when people are having a job interview and they're asked, what are your I can't even think of the words now.
Weaknesses.
What are your strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, I'm a perfectionist, but they say it in a kind of false, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And yeah, anyway.
Wankers.
But let's first get to the root of the problem, shall we, Joe?
Right. What's the problem?
Well, I've been doing some research and I was actually trying to find out if perfectionism has always been around or if it's a modern phenomenon.
Okay.
And I couldn't really find an answer outside philosophy, like some philosophy stuff to do with moral self, and that's not what we're talking about here. So if anybody knows, then get in touch and let me know. But I think it's very much a modern problem.
Do you think?
Yeah,
but I think there's always been that fussy person who's like proud of carving the roundest wheels or something.
Yeah, I think absolutely, because otherwise progress would not be made, and successes would not happen, like big successes, and I'll come to that later. But I think that it's very much a modern problem that everybody seems to suffer from it now. And, I might be wrong about that. So if there are any psychologists listening who are like yelling at the podcast right now, then get in touch and put me right, because I want to know.
Hi, psychologists.
Hi, psychologists. Anyway, but I reckon the root of this kind of perfectionism nonsense that just strangles people and their businesses is that we all somehow feel that we ought to be special and extraordinary in some way, because we're kind of bombarded by it.
Mommy told me I was special.
Well, you are. But there's this kind of feeling among people that everybody deserves to be elevated to the top of their tree, and that everybody has to be special, and that we're kind of told that by celebrities and by well-meaning parents, and that everybody can be special and extraordinary. But the kind of inherent problem with that is that if everybody is extraordinary, then by definition nobody is. And if everyone's special, then nobody is special. But, we hear that from every angle that everybody, we have to be special. We're all destined to be extraordinary, and we're all capable of achieving greatness and like the pinnacle. And while I do think that everybody has the potential to be great, because they do, the truth is that very few people actually are going to be, because for, a wide range of reasons, mostly to do with not being asked. And that's not to denigrate people who are not going to be great, because like I'm probably one of them. I'm never going to be like the world's top anything, I wouldn't have thought, because frankly I like the rest of my life too much.
Yes, not single-minded enough, not selfish enough, not determined enough, not sacrificial enough.
No, I'm not, and I'm okay with that. But so while I think that everybody has the potential to be great, and anybody can do anything they put their mind to, unless they think they can fly, in which case they're probably going to be disappointed. And a dwarf is a small person is probably not going to win the Olympic high jump.
Probably not. Yeah.
Probably not. And I'm never going to be an Olympic swimmer. So, but everybody has the potential. But if we are told, we are bombarded by this idea that we should all be great, and instead of questioning this idea that we all deserve greatness and we're all destined for being special, and instead of asking ourselves whether we really deserve that kind of elevation or not, we kind of just lap it up and go searching for more of that self-affirming nonsense.
Okay.
Because we're surrounded by it. Because, Oprah Winfrey on her show is like, oh, everyone can be extraordinary and special, and, internet bloody marketers everywhere. Oh, everybody, you have to strive to be the best in the world. It's like, not the best you can be, but the best in the world. And there's a really important difference between those two things, I think. So, anyway, but all of that means that we never really do anything at all, because if it's not perfect, if it's not extraordinary, if it's not noteworthy, then automatically it's not worth doing. And that is a really dangerous idea.
There's a lot of opportunity in the middle ground. There's a lot of places to carve your niche. There's a lot of loads of things you could be doing.
But you know what? Even more, that's all true. But even more insidious than that is that kind of viewpoint of that. If you're not great, if you're not going to be the greatest, then you're nothing at all. It's like saying that being average, which is what most people are by definition, is somehow the worst thing ever. And that measuring success, by being extraordinary is the only way to measure success. And that's ridiculous. And it creates this situation where it's better to be right at the other extreme than it is to be mediocre. So that's when you get people going out of their way to be victims and to compete over how miserable they are and how miserable their lives are. And it's the pity parties you see on social media all the time, with everyone kind of chipping in going, oh, you okay, hun? Which is, by the way, my least fucking favourite phrase. It's like when somebody posts a deliberately vague Facebook status update and like 8,000 of their wussy female friends chime in going, you okay, hun? In that tone of voice, by the way. You okay, hun? So
PM me.
Yeah, PM me. It's like, no, fuck off. But that's kind of what it leads to, is that either you're going to be amazingly great or you're going to compete to be, the most miserable EastEnders type person in the world ever, which is awful. And it means that loads of people are terrified of accepting their averageness. And I think it's because they think if they're average, they can never improve. And that their life is not ever going to be really worthwhile, which is really, really shit. And it's a really dangerous way to think, because if you think that a life is worthwhile only if it's extraordinary, that means that most human beings are worthless. And it means that, and how awful is that? That if we have this idea that, being the top of your tree is the only way to be, then I think that's where you start to get all kinds of societal and moral problems as well. Because if you believe that
we have a huge problem with, I think, disappointment.
Yeah.
And people whose lives haven't turned out the way they wanted. And there's an awful lot of keeping up with the Joneses and buying things you don't need and trying to, taking finance out on stuff that you really should just pay for.
Yeah, and I think that's always been there, but it seems to, I don't know if it's worse now or if I'm just looking at.
But I think that's psychological disappointment, and that the sort of commercialization of almost everything is really dangerous for people's happiness.
It is, and I think the more connected we are online, which is an amazing thing, and it has so much potential, I actually think it also has, bad effects, one of which is that you see only what people choose to put out there.
And you're comparing your insides to everyone else's outsides.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's a poor comparison.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
It is. But what really worries me is that when you kind of start thinking that average is bad and that average is worthless and that the only real worth and success lies in being, at the top end of the bell curve, then, you start to think that your fellow humans are less than somehow, because that is what you must think, because by definition most people are average. And, and if they're less than, if they're not as worthwhile, then who cares what happens to them? And so that kind of really worries me.
It's a scary place for society to go.
It is a scary place for society to go. And, the very, very few people, the other important thing that I've kind of been thinking about over the last couple of weeks is that the really few people who really do reach the top of the game, so like Richard Branson, Paula Radcliffe, Elon Musk, Usain Bolt, all of those people, they don't achieve what they achieve because they're special at all. They're just people. They achieve what they achieve because they are completely obsessed at getting better at what they do.
Right.
And they just focus single-mindedly. Okay, Usain Bolt has got a physique that lends itself to sprinting, but so have 10,000 other people in the world. So, that's kind of...
he's sacrificed a lot to get where he is.
Yeah, he has. And it'll be a short-lived career, but he's sacrificed his youth to, to training for that. And it's the same with Paula Radcliffe when she trained for her marathons. So, I don't know. Yeah, and somewhat counterintuitively, I think, their success actually grows out of believing that they're not that great after all. Because, they are always, they want and need to get better. And so that's what drives them. I'm not at the top of my game. I need to get better. That's what drives me all the time. Yeah. It's like, I can always do something better, and therefore I should find out how to do it. So, do you remember we were talking in the car the other day, and I can't remember who I was talking to, but a couple of people had said to me, oh, you seem to be really good at everything you do. And I was like, obviously, I'm clearly not good at, really good at everything I do, but they see the stuff that I put out there. But I was thinking about it, I was thinking, okay, well, I am good at the stuff that I do, but that's because I focus really, really tightly on it.
Yes.
For, I've been doing my cartoon course for, more than 6 months now, and I'm getting to the point where I'm actually quite pleased with a lot of my cartoons.
Sure. But it didn't just happen.
No. I mean, anybody who's kind of been following me vaguely on the internet knows I've been posting endless pictures of questionable cartoons, questionable quality cartoons. But it's like, you have to be striving for something, and to believe that you can only be at the top of your game if you are somehow extraordinary is damaging and wrong.
It's back to that whole kind of educational thing where we put much more emphasis on achievement rather than effort.
On the right answer. Yeah.
Much more about the right answer rather than an interesting way to find the wrong answer.
Yeah.
Much less discovery and much more fact.
And less tolerance of mistakes as well. Yeah. If you go and look at the education system in Japan and compare it to, I only know Japan, it's probably similar in other Eastern countries, but if you compare it to our education system, and certainly America, because this was the study that I looked at, was America versus Japan, the difference between kids asked questions at the blackboard, if a kid in America didn't know the answer, they just wouldn't, there would be no hands up. It was, whereas in Japan, a kid would go up on the blackboard, they'd chalk up the answer that they thought, and the teacher would be like, that's not the right answer, let's work it out together. And the whole class would work it out together, and there was no question that this was a failure on the part of the kid. It was, this is a learning experience. That is what school is about.
Opportunities to learn stuff.
And I don't know, that's something about our education system that is massively fucked up. Because it teaches kids that it's not okay to make mistakes, which teaches adults that it's not okay to make mistakes.
Which education secretary was it that said all schools needed to be, like 80% of schools should be above average?
Oh, it's probably Michael Gove, because he's a dick.
It's like, wait a minute, have you done the maths on that statement?
It's like, the very fact that someone can make a statement like that and is in charge of education just makes me want to pull my hair out. It's just, anyway, we kind of wandered off topic slightly. Back to perfectionists.
Perfectionists?
Yeah.
So what's the problem with being a perfectionist?
Well, this is all tied into the same thing, so it all comes from the same area, right? The same root. And perfectionists are basically scared of failure. Because
Scared of not getting it right.
Yeah, scared of putting something out there that isn't perfect. And, they're terrified that actually the majority of their lives and their actions won't be particularly noteworthy. And they fail to realise that actually that's not only okay, it's a good thing, because that's what most lives are, and that's where the important stuff happens. It's like the little everyday stuff that happens, the interactions between you and me and our next door neighbours and our friends and our clients.
It's all pretty normal.
That normal boring stuff is the really important stuff, because the extraordinary stuff that happens, the Teslas and the Virgin and all that kind of thing, they're brilliant, and they're great big leaps forward for society and technology, but on their own they're worthless, because without everything else that goes underneath it, without kind of society functioning and people giving a shit about each other, it's worthless, So it's all important, all of it together. You need the great people, but you also need average people. You probably even need crap people, but I don't know.
Somebody's got to wash the telephones.
No, crap people don't wash. That's an awful thing to say.
No, it was a Douglas Adams reference.
Was it?
Yeah.
How did I not get that?
I don't know.
Oh,
It was the first spaceship. They all the people who sanitised public telephones and hairdressers. They put them all on the ship and sent them off to the planet that didn't really exist. It was just getting rid of them. They just sent them on their way.
By the way, I do remember that now you said it. Douglas Adams was a bloody genius and a great humanitarian, despite that. Anyway, but back to perfectionists. It's fear of getting it wrong, and therefore you never do it, and you never finish it and get it out there. And I would like everybody listening to this, all three of our listeners.
Hi there, God.
Oh my God. Hi, Jen. I haven't said hi to Jen for a while.
Jen.
Hi, Jen. And actually, we have got more than that, because people keep telling me about. Hi, Tim. Tim wants you to connect with him on LinkedIn so that you guys can book a breakfast.
Okay. I'll do that.
Anyway, back to perfectionism. Really, really powerful thing that everyone can do, and that I work hard at every single day, because, I'm constantly terrified of everything, because everybody is. Once you escape this pressure of having to do something amazing and having to be like the best and having to be the next big thing, it kind of frees you up to really try your best to be as good as you can be.
Okay.
Because once you've stopped striving for perfection, you can just strive for really fucking good. Which to really do something that is really wonderful. Might not be, the next Tesla or whatever, but it'll be wonderful. Because you'll do it really well. So I used to say good enough is good enough, but I don't say that anymore, because I don't.
You just did.
Well, I said I used to say good enough is good enough.
You just did it again.
Oh my God. I'm like
too tired for this shit.
Too tired for this shit.
Okay, sorry.
I don't know what to say anymore. I can't even say it for a third time, because that's ridiculous. I used to say that trite phrase. But I don't say that anymore, because I like to push people to do better. So now I say something like awesome is good enough, or, the point is it has to be better than good, but short of perfect.
Okay.
Because I don't think just good it's a bit, I think you can always strive to be better.
It's a really good excuse, if you've always wanted to write your book or whatever it is that you kind of don't do because you're a bit frightened of it.
Are you pointing that at me? With my novel.
No. Yeah, you write loads of books. It's also really perfect. It's not perfect. It's not ready yet. I can't release it into the wild because it's not quite right. And you can do that for years. You can just faff around with stuff and never get it finished and never quite get it spot on perfect. And it's a hell of an excuse to just not launch the thing. Yeah,
I think it's the leading cause of procrastination, perfectionism.
Yeah.
Because it's, and if I'm completely honest with myself, it's why it's taken me so long to do something that I've been working on for the last 3 weeks. And I had a bit of a breakthrough this morning. But
when you just went, fuck it, and wrote the thing.
Yeah, because I kind of reminded myself that actually whatever you do is never the finished version. There's always a version 2, a version 3. And if you think of it that way, then that's a really valuable way to think of it for your clients as well as for yourself, because you think, okay, this is the first thing I'm going to put out there. The next time I do it, it's going to be better. And the next time I do it, it's going to be better. And I'm going to take feedback and I'm going to listen to people. Because, there are people out there who will say, oh, you shouldn't listen to unsolicited feedback. I say that's bullshit. If you're putting stuff out there and selling it to people, you absolutely should be listening to feedback.
Be careful which feedback you listen to.
Unless if it's an unsolicited opinion from your mom about how email marketing doesn't work and they wouldn't like to receive an email a day, then you can smile sweetly and ignore them because they don't know what they're talking about. But if it's a client that comes back and says, you know what, I think this is how you could make this product better.
The voice isn't quite right. We need to just...
Yeah, or it would be great if you could, like today, I got an email from Tanya in my inner circle. Hi, Tanya.
Hi, Tanya.
And she was asking me about the PDFs that I put up for critiques. I annotate the PDFs that people send me, or I PDF them and annotate them. And when she was looking at them online, if the note is too far to the edge of the thing, you can't read the whole thing.
Yeah, right.
And so I was like, right, okay, well, I'm going to change the way I do that because I want people to be able to read it. And I showed her how she could actually download it rather than just look at it online.
Yes.
And a couple of other things. It's like, oh yeah, letting people know how long the video critique is going to last so that they know how long to put aside, which is a really good point. And it's something that I didn't even think about because, that was me putting it out there and kind of, I've done this critique. It didn't even occur to me that it might be useful for...
this is 10 minutes.
Yeah. So, and that's something that will take me 0.5 seconds to do each time. So, of course, I'm going to make that change. And it's a tiny effort on my part, and it'll make a big difference to, people planning their days. So, yeah, so listen to feedback, basically, is what I'm saying. And, stop pursuing perfect.
If you accept the fact that you will listen to feedback, then it releases you from the requirement of being perfect.
Yeah. And also, the other trick to do is ask for feedback, because then when you get feedback, you won't feel defensive about it.
Yes.
Because it can be really difficult if you put something out there and you've worked really hard on it and it's your baby and then somebody comes back and says, actually, I think you can make it better. What you hear is, this is shit. Obviously that's not what they're saying.
Yeah.
But that's what you hear. But if you put it out there with the request, tell me if something bugs you, let me know how I can improve this, then it shifts your perception of the feedback.
You're expecting some feedback.
Yeah, you're actively asking for it because your aim by putting this out there is to make it better. And that's massively important. And all this stuff, by the way, this kind of procrastination and all the rest of it, this worrying about failing before you start so you don't start, it's actually putting stuff out there. And I see it all the time, business owners going over and over and over the same thing. And I'm like, just put it out there. Put it out there. It's not perfect. It's good and it'll be better.
Yeah.
Does it make you vulnerable? Of course it fucking makes you vulnerable. Every time you put something out there, every time I do a podcast like this, every time we sit here and do this, it makes me vulnerable. Every time I write a daily email.
Somebody could just chip in and go, well, this is nonsense.
Yeah, and you know what? That's the risk I take every single time. And I do it anyway. I partly do it because it's really good fun.
I might send that email, actually. It's bloody nonsense. There's a lot of nonsense.
There is. But I think there's good stuff as well.
There's good stuff.
This is a really good podcast. I mean, the subject matter and the message behind it, I think the execution is a bit shaky. But yeah, you will never make progress if you don't put yourself out there and make yourself vulnerable. And you don't do that, by the way, by like blurting out all of your dirty washing on social media like some people do.
Not talking about stream of conscious nonsense. We're talking about, you need to get your website launched.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be perfect, and if you know it's not perfect, launch the damn thing, but
ask for feedback.
Ask for feedback and put a couple of days in your diary for 6 weeks' time to revisit it.
Which is exactly what I'm going to be doing later this week, hopefully. Hi, Ben! When my website goes live, and it's going to go out and it's going to be like, there's going to be broken links, there's going to be, probably not too many because Ben's really good, but there's going to be all sorts of little issues because it's a new website and that's what happens. So my question is going to be, go have a look at the website. If you find a broken link, send it to Harriet. Hi, Harriet. No, let me know, let me know if there's a problem. Let me know if there's something that doesn't make sense. Let me know if something doesn't work. I'll be testing everything, but I'm probably going to miss stuff because I'm a human being, mostly.
But the alternative is wait until it's perfect.
Which it won't be ever.
Which it'll never be.
And I've spent a lot of money on this website, so it bloody well needs to go out there. It's been like since January now. And again, that's me procrastinating. And partly I've been very busy, but that's kind of an excuse as well. So yeah. Oh, and the last thing about perfectionism, it creates arrogant twats. That's really important. The kind of people who become martyrs, the ones who think that they're the only one who is good enough to do something. What kind of bullshit is that? That, I have to do this myself and I have to make it perfect. It has to be perfect because nobody else can do it as well as me. No, they might not do it in exactly the same way as you, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be as good. So, let people do stuff. So it's kind of, those people who think they're the only one who cares enough or works hard enough to get something right, while all around them are people getting stuff done quietly, making progress.
Moving forward.
So, yeah, because that's the business we're in. Progress, not perfectionism. Which I love that as a little quote. That this podcast idea, by the way, came from my call with Misty today, my mate, who was talking to a bodybuilder client of hers. Hi, Misty. And he got loads of shit from some utter twats after a competition. So he and his girlfriend both enter fitness competitions. And after the most recent competition, it was time for a little bit of a break because the regime that they go through is insane. Like, bodybuilders are crazy people. So they decided it was like treat relaxation. They spent an evening drinking wine, eating really good naughty food and having desserts and all the rest of it. And they posted about it on social media, as you do. And at which point Trolley McTrollface called them disgusting and terrible role models. Because they should, they said they shouldn't be coaching because they do fitness training coaching as well. And it's like, hello? So in pursuit of perfection, there is only failure and misery. And it's like, it's progress in small increments, not giant leaps, which is what we should be aiming for. So that's it, really. It's kind of a bit of an abrupt end, but basically just stop striving for perfection. I keep saying perfection. Perfection.
Don't worry about perfection. Just make a step forward.
Yeah.
Get it out there, get it launched, get it started.
In fact, I'll say more than that. Stop going for the massive leap forward and go for the tiny steps. Because progress is made in tiny steps. And, yeah. And also the process, taking giant leaps kills the process, and the process is part of the joy.
It should be, if you enjoy what you're doing.
Apart from today's fucking rage vegetable planting.
Jesus, why what was the rage vegetables? Talk about the rage vegetables. People want to know.
No, because it's now 26 minutes in and I want to eat my dinner. We can talk about the rage vegetable. I can't even talk anymore. I can't even talk about the vegetables anymore.
More gin.
We'll
tell you about the vegetables next week. Tune in for that exciting episode.
Actually, we won't, because I've got a guest interview. But if you want to make the next small step, the next tiny increment in your business progress, what should our listeners do, Joe?
Go to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/inner-circle.
Yes.
That would be one way of getting involved, making a step, making a change, moving things on.
Yeah, because we do things differently.
Yeah.
Do things differently. And I don't push anybody to make massive leaps. I just get people to do little things and keep doing little things.
They have to do it, though.
They have to do it.
Got to do it.
And they do. And my guys are awesome. It's like Jill, who trebled her income in, I don't even fucking know, she's probably even done even more now because she's like a powerhouse of doing stuff. And Morag and Julia and Ivan, who has got like a 2 million quid business and is just awesome. So
good people making progress.
Good people. We need to organise a get together. Anyway,
curry.
So yeah, start doing things differently. Come join the inner circle. If you haven't got my book yet, start there. Get my book, which is businessforsuperheroes.com, or just email me, and I'll tell you where to go. No, right. I'm not telling you where to go, as in like tell you where to go. You know what? Let's just leave it there. Thanks very much, Joe. Thanks for listening, guys.
Worries.
Sorry about the terrible rambling and exhaustion.
It is now 11 p.m. and we haven't had dinner yet.
And we will see you this time next week. Bye!
Bye!
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.